What's going on, everyone? You know, I got So and So in Stereo podcast. We're back with episode 52. Guys, my apologies because we were gone last week, Tom and Ed. We were all celebrating Mother's Day, right?
Gotta celebrate your mother.
Yep. Good news, though. A couple of days prior to Mother's Day, I was in Seattle and I was watching a Chris Brown concert.
And you survived? No shots?
It was, you know what? I mean, we'll get into Chris Brown later, but it was actually a pretty entertaining show. I mean, he was lip syncing like no other, but the boy can dance. And you guys will be excited because his two opening acts were fabulous. We all like fabulous here. And what's the other guy's name? OT Genesis. I think that's one of your favorites, Ed.
OT Genesis and Fabulous? So let me drink this bottle of bleach along with this Kool-Aid. Like, that's... Ugh. Go ahead. Like, it's early. We're a minute in and my blood pressure is rising already.
I have a related note to that, actually. There was a Future concert last night in Brooklyn, and there was a stampede following the show. Just so you know.
Actually?
I have some friends in New York who went to this concert, and they were texting me about it. So, I'm like, what on earth? First of all, how could a Future show get you rowdy enough to stampede? Because if I went to a Future show, I'd be asleep standing up.
Wait a second. You have friends who listen to Future and would pay money to go to the show?
Unfortunately.
That's a problem.
Those aren't your friends, Ed.
Everybody.
You can call them like coworkers or associates, but you can't call them friends if they're going to a Future concert. I'm sorry.
I might have to keep that in mind, but I am talking to Ashanti's biggest fan here, so...
Now, calm down. Well, I was going to say at this Chris Brown concert, when OT Genesis was playing that You Need to Cut It song, I put my hand into like a scissors type of thing and I started cutting as well.
Jeez.
I wish I was there so I could hit you with my drink.
Oh, man. But aside from that, last week, Latoya Luckett released her album Back to Life, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. And now that we've all had a chance to listen to it, well, first off, I want to tell you guys, for all 4,000 people that bought that album, good on you. Because that album only sold 4,000 first week.
Yeah,
oh,
but
my gosh.
I have an observation, though. Right?
Yeah.
Our interview with LeToya had at least half as many views as that so far. So, people are tuning in, but they're not even purchasing the music? I don't understand.
I think you're right, because when I posted my review, and we'll get to the review later, I got a lot of feedback from people. LeToya is one of those artists where I expected to post a review and people would say, LeToya, she hasn't done anything since 2000. But a lot of fans were tuned in and were like, oh yeah, I already heard this album, and oh yeah, like I've been following her, and it seemed like she had a bigger following than I expected. So I was really surprised, and I'm a little shocked that the numbers were that low, but to your point, maybe we just streaming and we aren't purchasing.
I think that's exactly it, Ed. I think most people, we can have proof, are streaming nowadays. No one's buying.
Well, I will say this. Billboard does chart streams, but LaToya is only on the pure sales chart. She's at like number 47. She's nowhere on the streaming chart or the streaming plus sales chart, so I don't know if they're streaming legally or illegally, but it's kind of sad that she only sold 4,000.
Well, how many streams does it take to get on the other chart?
I don't know. I don't know the analytics behind it. I just look at the numbers.
I mean, realistically, would if like 50,000 people streamed it, would that make the chart? Probably not.
I don't know.
I could see that many people having streamed it and not making a dent in anyone's chart, you know? That's reasonable.
I definitely agree. I think so.
But with the numbers Drake is getting, like, millions of streams, how are you going to compare 50,000 to, like, millions? You know, there's just...
Right.
It's not going to work on charts.
Well, for all 4,000 people that did buy the album, of course... Well, first of all, there's that song with Ludacris, In the Gray. That is, my friends here, that is a top 5 song of the year. I'm just going to flat out say that right now.
I feel like it's a little early to have that convo, but I really do like that song. I'll give you that.
Don't worry, guys. I'm ready to sink it to the bottom half of our top 100 already.
Oh, I can't wait.
Tom,
You
is it
do that
because she's
same
part
thing
of
to
Destiny's
us every
Child?
year, Ed.
Yeah,
What?
I do that.
Is it because she's part of Destiny's Child?
What do you? No, I told you the song I like better. That's in my top 10.
Oh, I don't know.
Which-
I don't know about that. But anyways, Ed, what did you think about the album? I know you've been a LaToya fan since the beginning.
I am a big Latoya fan. I wanted to like the album more than I did. It is a strong project as far as showcasing what Latoya can do. I think she's a little underrated vocally, and she was able to kind of show what she could do here a little bit. The thing that really kind of stuck with me, because if you follow Soul in Stereo and you follow my reviews, you know my pet peeves. And one of my pet peeves is artists that don't realize an album should be a story from beginning to end and have a cohesive sound. And that's what this album is losing. It's like one sound sounds like hip hop, and one is more traditional R&B, and oh, we got a trap song, and oh, here's the big band sound, and it just makes it, although all the songs are listenable, it makes it hard to have a cohesive, straight through listen as an album should be listened. So lots of good stuff, but not a lot of cohesive stuff. So I liked it on the surface, and as I say, I love Gray and some of the other songs, but as an overall project, it was just solid.
I agree. But do you know, on the other hand, you know what project I felt was cohesive, but I just could never listen to probably again, was Mary J's album.
Oh, and I agree with you there. Like it, no, I would agree. Now I like that the Mary J stance can go get Tom for once. You can tweet what you feel.
Let me explain.
At YouKnowIGotSoul.com. Please
Let me explain. Can I explain?
Yeah, they're
The reason
coming
I would
for you,
never-
but please explain.
The reason I can't listen to sad songs about crying and all this hurt and pain. That has nothing. I can't relate to it at all. So how am I supposed to listen to it?
Well, there goes half of Mary J's discography from Tom's iPod.
I'm just saying though. But how can I sit through an album like that? You know, of being in pain and crying. I can't relate. It's just too drowsy for me and sad. I don't want to be sad.
Well,
I see Keisha
think
Cole's
that-
first two albums out there as well now. Bye-bye.
I think
What?
so too. But I mean, Tom again brings up a good point. People listen to albums differently, and I listen, and it drives my wife crazy. But I listen to everything like I'm reviewing it, like I'm analyzing and dissecting every piece. But if you're looking at it as Tom is talking about from an emotional point of view, yeah, it's going to drive you nuts because you don't want to hear somebody being that depressing all the time. So I respect it. It's not the way I listen to music, but if that's something that affects you, yeah, you need to stay away from that new Mary J album when she's cussing out her ex.
I'll be honest with you guys. I only listen to music for the production.
No, I'm with you. I like good production. If it doesn't have good production, I can't really listen. But, you know, and I don't really listen to lyrics either too much. But this album, this Mary album, it's just like you can't ignore it. It's just the whole vibe of the album is in that one tone. It's like, how do you get past that?
Right, and that's intentional. And again, I'm not mad at her for that. But if that's not the way you listen to albums, that is not an album for you. For me, like, I have to take all the elements in. To me, it's about lyrics, it's about production, it's about album sequencing. I am big into that, as we talked about with LaToya. And Mary J's album was cohesive, but it was front-loaded with all the good stuff. Like, by track 7, you could heard all the good stuff, and that's not good. So you listen to the music different ways, and that's what makes music subjective. So all three of these, you know, I can't be mad at it. And I'm sure our listeners will agree with the way Kyle listens or the way Tom listens or the way I listen. So it's just the way we consume.
Yep. But back to that LaToya album. I thought it was just, to be honest, okay. I think it's probably the worst out of her three. Not that that's a bad thing, because her first two albums were pretty good. Ed, I think you think the debut is the best one. I actually think the second one is better.
Yeah, I think the debut is best.
It sounds... I tried listening to the debut the other day. It sounded really, really dated. Like we were still in that crunk era.
Oh, and I'm sure. I haven't listened to the debut in probably a good 3 or 4 years now, but I'm sure there are some very crunkish songs that dropped in '06, so it might smell a little bit like Sierra, so to speak.
Yep. But this album in particular, like, first of all, like I mentioned, Gray is a great song. Tom, what was the song you like? My Love, is it called?
Yep.
Yeah, that's like, that has sort of a Pharrell vibe to it. I like that one too.
Yeah, it
There's
did.
a couple of songs that were pretty good, but man, once you get to that trap stuff, and maybe it's just because I'm not giving it enough of a listen, but the moment I hear some trap drums, I give it about 15 seconds, and I skip on to the next record. I just can't do it,
Well,
guys.
see, I'll give her this on the trap stuff though. She was actually trying to make it work. The reason why I have beef with trap, it's like the second people get a trap beat, they just forget what brought them to the table. They don't even try to sing. They just like talk rap over it, and it's so annoying. At least she tried to vocalize a little bit, and that's why it made it a little bit more listenable to me. If you bring a little bit of your artistry to the beat, we alright, but you don't have to, because you have a trap beat, start mumbling like Uzi Vert. Like, that's when I have drama.
Well, Tom, we actually talked about this off the call or off the podcast. Ledisi put out a new single produced by our boy DJ Camper. That's sort of trappy,
Yes.
isn't it?
I was just thinking about that right when you were talking about this. Ed, did you hear it?
I have not heard this. Y'all talking about Ledisi trapping out here? I am upset.
Nah.
My soul is upset.
It's not really like trappy, but it's like someone called it trap soul. I would call it modern production. She's kind of rap singing a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird when you hear it. And I was surprised that Ledisi went that direction. Kyle wasn't upset. I was upset.
Man,
So-
when we hop off of this podcast, I can't wait to listen to this one because this flew under my radar, and I just cannot imagine Ledisi doing that. And if anybody can make it work, Ledisi can make it work.
But here's why I was upset. Why are the legends, or our current legends, and I consider Ledisi a legend, one of the best we have, why is she emulating the youngsters? Why does she need to do it?
It's weird. Like, I understand from an artistic standpoint. I've talked about this many, 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 many times. And I've even gotten some artists shout me out and say, thank you for speaking for us on this. Like, artists shouldn't feel to be always recreating the same sound. So that I'm cool with. Like I've said a million times, I don't need another Confessions. And I don't need Ledisi to drop another album like The Truth. It was great, but I don't need it again. However, it's weird to hear legends like kind of like doing what the young kids are doing. You can incorporate that production because of course that's the hot sound, that's what's going to get you spins, that's what's going to get you notoriety. I get it from a business aspect, but it's weird because everybody's doing it, and that never happened back in the day.
Well, this was my argument to Tom, and I just thought about it here. Well, first of all, like, my biggest thing is if you're going to do or incorporate some of the trendier sounds, it can't be disrespectful. Like, if Ledisi was cussing all over that song, I would have had a problem with it. But in terms of just borrowing the production and, you know, just incorporating that into her sound, I don't have a problem with that. I remember when Alicia Keys did that song that Drake wrote, Unthinkable or whatever. I remember a lot of people. There you go. A lot of people didn't like that song, but as I listen to it now, it's actually a pretty good song. But I remember when it first came out, a lot of diehard R&B fans were like, "What is this? It's all slow and moving."
I remember that very well too. I remember people were pissed, and I was okay with it because she made it work. It did sound. My beef was it sounded too much like a Drake song, but it still worked. And again, I can't judge this Ledisi song. I haven't heard it yet, but if she can make it sound like a Ledisi song and it has a current beat, we cool. I remember when what's his name? Mr. Biggs, Ron Isley. When the Isley brothers started doing the stuff with R. Kelly, and it didn't sound like vintage Isley brothers, but it sounded current, and that was cool. But it didn't sound too much like R. Kelly's crazy stuff. If you can find a happy medium, we straight. But if Ledisi out here cussing and trapping and got the do-rag on and got the purple drink in her cup, then I might have problems.
Alright, I'm about to shut down Kyle's argument. First of all, can I just say one thing? We love Ledisi. She's a big supporter of our site. Last time we saw her in Essence Festival, I'll never forget this. She told us she, was happy to see us, how far we come, and just for us to keep it going and keep supporting. So we really appreciate that. But
very much so.
Ledisi's 45. Alicia Keys, when she did that Unthinkable song, was like in her late 20s. I think there's a huge difference. And one of my favorite things about Ledisi is her vocals. We don't want to hear a Ledisi song where she's not even singing. That's the difference for me.
No, that's a great point, and honestly, that would be my argument too. Again, I can't say because I haven't heard, but I would definitely lean along those lines. But no shot at all to Legacy. I mean Ledisi, because Ledisi's legacy is what I'm trying to say. Is so strong, and she's been a supportive of not only I Got Soul, but Soul and Stereo as well. Been very good about sharing our content and being supportive. So we love her to death, and I'm not mad at her for trying something.
Here's what I would like to see. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but like to get to your point, I would like it to still sound like Ledisi.
Here's what I would like to see, and Kyle, tell me what you think. Maybe borrow some of the trendier production, like tap into it a bit, like advance your production a bit, but keep the vocals we're used to and keep the integrity of the music from that you came in with, and maybe kind of mix both. I just felt like this was a bit too. I mean, it's not like a trap song like we're used to the radio. It's still okay. It's still a Ledisi song, but I'd like to see a bit more of her. Maybe borrowing a little less of the trendy stuff.
Well, I mean, again, personally, I don't think it's too far off. Just personally, I know you disagree, and DJ Soulchild was going off on Facebook about it being a trap song. But a lot of it has to do with the production, though, just the drum pattern. I don't think you can sing that song like a straight-up R&B song with those type of drum patterns. So how do you incorporate today's production with classic singing? Like, I would argue that, Gabby Wilson or her, she was able to do that. But again, you disagree with that, and you think it's a little more rap singing as well. So I don't know where that balance is.
Well, I don't think someone at this stage of Ledisi's career should even be concerned about borrowing from the young generation's production, personally. I think there's ways to advance production without tapping into what's currently popular. I mean, just, tap into a fresh new sound. She tapped into a fresh sound on her last album, and it got a mixed reaction. But, I think there's ways to do it without going to the new generation, personally.
Well,
I mean, that's...
Well, I would say, what about Mary J's last single, Thick of It? That was produced by Camper as well. It was sort of trendy. On the verses, she was sort of rap singing on it. And that ended up doing well on Urban AC, so...
You knew I didn't like that song, and I think we've talked about why that did so well. Payola. I'm just saying.
Anyway.
You just saying, I'm just sipping tea.
So we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one, but there's another project.
Is that song, is Thick of It in your top 100 songs of the year?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, man.
It's not a bad song.
It made last year's list. It was up there. Like, it was, I can't remember where it placed, but it was probably like 40 something. It's an okay song.
Wait, it was in there?
It's worthy of
was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It did?
Yeah, remember
the
it stalled.
song dropped last year, player.
Yeah, it's just that the promotion for the album stalled because she went through her divorce and everything.
We had that song in our list?
Yes.
Damn, I'm getting old. I probably tried to tank that one and you guys stopped me.
You probably tried to.
It's okay, Tom.
Call me the hater of the call. Jeez.
It's okay, because this time we're going to have Glow Up in our top 100 with Missy Elliott and DJ Khaled and the rest of them.
Can't wait.
Try syncing
I might
that
have to
one.
tank that one myself.
Oh, man. Anyway, there was another project that came out actually just the other day. Ed, I know you've been really excited about this one, and Tom, you're representing New York. This is Faith Evans and Notorious B.I.G.'s duet album, The King and I. And first of all, I want to give a quick shout out to our boy DJ Soulchild. I looked on his Instagram, and he said this was one of the albums of the year, if not the album of the year. Ed, is it that?
No. And I look, player, shout out to Soulchild. That's my dog. I love him to death. But player, no. And let me tell you why. I am the biggest Biggie / Faith fan you will probably find. I am sitting behind in my office. I have like a photo of Biggie that's blown up. That's got to be literally like 4 feet tall against my wall. I need to like post a photo of it so the listeners can see it. This thing is gigantic. Biggie is huge, and Faith and Biggie are, to me, two of the reasons why I am the fan that I am today, because of their music. I love them, and I have wanted this duet album as long as they've been together. Like, I always wanted them to put out music together on a consistent basis. However, this album's problem is that it's a posthumous album, and every posthumous album has the same issue. When you take verses that are older than the people who's actually listening to them and kind of put them over newer production and trying to lace it with other people's verses, it just sounds choppy. Now, some songs are good. Like, she has the single Legacy. That's a good song. She has a really interesting song with Busta Rhymes where they kind of talk about the last few hours of Biggie's life. It's really touching. So there's some good stuff here, but a lot of it is just verses you done heard 1,000 times before, layered over Faith sort of singing, but trying to do the hip-hop thing, and she really can't really cut loose because she's kind of stuck in the beat and trying to stay on form of this old Biggie verse. It's just really awkward in some places. And the good thing about the album, and I talk about this in my review, which you can see on soulandstereo.com, is the album really plays out. She calls it a urban love story, and it really plays out from beginning to end. Her meeting him, they getting married, they've got all these interludes from Biggie's mom, and the drama, the divorce, the shooting, the aftermath. Each song plays into that. And as I talked about earlier, I'm a big guy about albums that tell good stories, and this album tells a good story. It's just the lyrics are so old and dusty and just doesn't work in some places. So again, a great album concept that just wasn't pulled off flawlessly.
I didn't have a chance to read your review yet. Was there any new Biggie material?
No. It's funny because I picked up, really before this podcast, I picked up the physical album because y'all know I love physical CDs. And on the label on the front, it's like, unreleased Biggie versus, I think it was like unreleased Biggie audio or some kind of like weird disclaimer. There are no new Biggie verses. Every verse I have heard before. There are some interviews with Biggie that I have not heard before. So that must be the new audio because the verses are the same old ones you've heard before. Get Money. I can't even think of them. But the second you hear the verses, you'll be like, oh, okay, I remember that song.
Got it. You know what's cool? I was covering a show at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn last Friday, and they had someone handing out flyers for the album in front. Like, they paid some dude to do that. That's that old school grassroots.
That old school, yeah, I like that old school guerrilla tactics. I think, it works because it works for the theme of the album. The one thing I also appreciated about the album, sorry, Ledisi, but there's no trap here. Like, it sounds like 90s production. So it sounds like an album Biggie would actually come out with, and not like that album where he was singing on Cash Money songs and stuff, and it sounded completely weird.
Wait a minute, I'm looking at I'm doing my Wikipedia research right now. There's a Just Blaze beat on here?
There's a Just Blaze beat. There are actually a couple of Just Blaze beats. There are some Stevie J beats. There's some DJ Premier beats. It is a 90s sounding album. It sounds great. It just could not get Biggie and Faith just couldn't get the chemistry together. And you can't blame them. I mean, the verses are like 30 years old.
We're going to find out if the guerrilla promotion worked once the Grim Reaper Kyle comes through next week with the album sale numbers.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Never has good news.
You know what? I wonder if the sales for this will be pretty decent since Biggie's name is attached to it, but I'm not very optimistic.
Neither am I, unfortunately.
There was no single released to radio, right? As far as I can tell.
Kyle, do you?
No, I think everything was just internet released.
Yeah. I mean, she did a lot of visuals and lyric videos and stuff. She just put out the video with Snoop, but, you know, unless you were on the internet, and a lot of Biggie fans and Faith fans might not be on the internet, older fans, we don't know.
Yeah, there were like probably 6 of the tracks that made internet, but again, I'm not sure if that's good enough to push numbers.
Guys, I forgot to tell you, probably about 2 weeks ago, I interviewed the vocal Bible Brandy.
The vocal Bible, oh boy.
Hall of Famer Brandy. R&B Hall
yes,
of Fame.
I'm sorry, R&B Hall of Famer Brandy. She said a very interesting quote. I want to hear your guys' take on this. She said, "I'm not just an R&B singer, I'm a singer."
You know what
you
that
want my
means.
take? I know what that means.
Trap on the next album, player.
To me, it means I'm not going to associate myself with R&B anymore because it's not cool anymore.
That's pretty much it.
Damn. Well, she did release a new she did release a new song recently with Atlantic recording artist Sir the Baptist, who also apparently is her boyfriend now. She sounds great on the record.
Yeah, it's kind of like a gospel joint. So, like, it was something that kind of caught me off guard for a second, but, you know, good for her.
Yep. And this,
Speaking,
her boyfriend.
Speaking
Go
of
ahead, Tom.
gospel, sorry to cut you off. Kyle, your favorite rapper is releasing a gospel album.
Who?
Snoop Dogg.
Wow.
I just saw the news today.
Snoop is dropping a gospel album?
I just read that headline today.
Okay.
You know, for a second, when you said favorite
I'm
rapper,
I'm dead
in the
serious.
church house?
I am dead serious. I'm not joking.
wow.
No, I know you aren't. Now, see, if, like, DMX was releasing a gospel album, I could believe that, but Snoop? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie though, when you brought up favorite rapper, I immediately thought Ja Rule, and I'm like, damn, times must be hard if he has to put out a gospel album. But I think that Firefest money is still keeping him afloat for now.
Oh my gosh, Firefest, he needs Jesus after that.
But yeah, the last note I want to make about Brandy's boyfriend is he actually looks like somebody we know, Tom.
Oh, God.
He looks like our boy David Duane from My Fierce Wings radio. He sort of looks like him. I thought that was kind of funny and weird, but funny. But anyways,
Oh, boy.
the last artist we want to talk about today is Neo, who dropped 2 songs recently, Earn Your Love, which I think we all seem to like, and there's another one, it's like an R&B soap opera with Candace Boyd and Ravon, both of who were Neo's artists. Guys, we're almost close to Neo coming back, and Ed, I think you pissed Neo off on Twitter.
First of all, let me clarify. There was no pissing Neo off on Twitter. Let a player set the stage and give you the real version of what happened. So, shout out to Mike Verse, who is one of our listeners and supports both of our sites. And he had heard Neo's new single, the first single that Kyle referred to. And it is very much classic Neo. It sounds like the R&B Neo that we came up with. So I can't remember his actual thoughts here, but he said something to the equivalent of, I don't know, Neo bringing R&B back or something, yada yada. Now listen, player. The reason why y'all love me is because I'm not like these little blogger dudes that y'all hype up on Gossip or whoever else. I am a trained journalist, so I'm here to ask the tough questions. So I replied, and in this reply from Mike Verse, I think he tagged YouKnowIGotSoul, me, and Neo himself. And in the thing, he just basically said, oh, this is a great song, he's bringing it back. I hit him with the question that everybody wanted asked but was afraid to say. I said this was a great move, but I need to see the album, and I can't judge something off of one song because I need to see if he's going to decide to pitbull up the album all over again. Y'all know what I mean with that. So apparently Neo saw that, and I think his response was something like, guys, give me a chance or something. I can't remember the exact words. He had a little smiley face after it, so I didn't take offense. But here comes your boy Tom, a professional bus thrower. He's sliding in the DMs and like, I don't know about these guys, Neo, but over here, we love you. We support your album. And if I wasn't already in a committed relationship with Music Soul Child, I would ask your hand in marriage.
No!
And I'm like, calm down, players. And I think, I can't remember if Neo responded, but I know Mike Verse had a few more things. Essentially, it's this. We're very happy that he dropped an R&B song first up, but let me see what that full project talking about. And if he decides to do this fully, then we good. If the next 6 songs got Pitbull on it and he's dancing in the EDM clubs, then I'm going to have bars for you. But Neo, we love you. We just want you to come back home.
Did you listen to the Nonfiction album, Ed?
It was alright.
It had some jams on there, man.
It had some jams, but again, that was one of those projects, kind of like this Faith album. It was just too long. I think it had like 20-some tracks on it. So it was a lot of filler. And there was some pit bulling up there. There was some pit bulling. But no, it had some really... It had some good songs on it, but it had some suspect stuff, too.
Yeah, I know. But I you know, he hasn't totally abandoned R&B, so...
No, he hasn't.
Like, I don't know. I didn't want to loop myself into that category, because I felt like, You Know I Got Soul was unfairly categorized, calling out Neo. I'm like, whoa. We like Neo.
No, and I like Neo, so... Again, I'm just going to ask the tough questions. Are you going to give us the R&B or are you going to give us the pop? So, that's what I'm here for. But no, there's no beef. Kyle, stop stirring up stuff. Real housewife.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you guys what. Because you guys have been so good on this podcast, I've gotten you guys tickets to upcoming tours. So, I got 3 different tours on site right now. I'm going to be going to the Mary J. Blige tour. She's doing that with Layla Hathaway. Ed, I guess you can go watch Escape at the Essence Festival. And Tom, I guess you're going to go watch BBD, SWV, and In Vogue.
Yay.
Right up your alley.
How did Layla Hathaway get on tour with Mary J? It just seemed like a weird pairing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, and I don't... Like, that's a weird pairing because Mary J can do the Layla sound, but I don't know if Mary J's core audience wants to hear Layla. Like, especially after this album, they want to get crunk and angry. Like, they need to dig up. I don't know who is doing this kind of music.
It's different. I feel like it's 2 different audiences. It's a little weird.
I think there's a little bit of crossover, but not enough for, like, this.
Yeah.
Because I think that they would want kind of a... I don't know why I'm thinking of... Not Cherish. I'm just thinking of Cherish. I just listened to that Self-Destruction song, which I love, by the way.
Great song.
But I was thinking there has to be like kind of a younger, more Keisha Cole-ish... Oh, that's what she needs. And Layla just doesn't seem to be a clean fit.
What
Unless
about
she's going to be singing the London sections the whole time.
What about Star Show opening?
Oh my god, dude. Look, player, you want her face open? You imagine those 2 on stage? Hands thrown like E Honda.
E Honda.
Wow. Funny story. I got one more tour to announce. August Alsina is going on tour. However, on Ticketmaster.com, if you search up August Alsina's tour, it's categorized under rap and hip hop. So I guess it's not really an R&B show.
Next time y'all tell me that this guy's changing R&B, I'm going to bring up that very point.
Mm-hmm. So, that seems to be it for this week's current events. Tom, do you have anything that you want to add?
Only that I have some breaking news, guys. I gave in and I got myself a fidget spinner.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
How old are you, 7?
And I'm playing with it right now as we speak.
Now, can somebody explain to me what the big deal is with this? Because I swear we had these when we were kids, and nobody cared. Like, it's just a thing that spins on between your finger and your thumb, right? You got that out the Honey Smacks.
Yeah, you know, it's cool to have, man. If you don't have one, you're not cool.
Oh, gosh, well, I'm not cool.
And then one more thing before we get into the Hall of Fame. I'm going to put both you guys on the spot right now, okay? Ready?
All right.
Name an R&B singer you cannot stand. The first one that comes to mind.
Oh, we can go all day.
John Legend.
First one that comes to mind. Who?
John Legend.
Wow. Ed, don't hesitate.
Listen, I wish that our listeners, sometimes we have podcasts on our chats before the actual recording. And if you guys could have joined our conversation on John Legend versus Thick the other night, it would have been the podcast of the year. Kyle really doesn't like John Legend.
No,
Jeez.
Nope.
Can you name someone, Ed?
Can I name someone? Can I name someone that's like not 20 people?
Just throw one out there.
I'll put Sierra at the top of my list.
Oh,
but
Poor Cece.
jeez.
yes, poor CC.
Oh boy.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Shout out to one of our big followers, Joe, because Joe loves CC and he is gonna be very hyped. I mean, very mad that I just dissed this girl. So sorry, dog. I love you, but I don't know you, girl.
All right, let's get into the Hall of Fame. But I want to add a quick side note. I was talking to Tom yesterday, and I tried to convince him that LeBron James is actually the greatest basketball player of all time now. He was not having it.
Oh, my God.
So
Oh,
I don't think Tom is in a good mood, but we're going to have to move forward with this Hall of Fame thing, and just, for all the listeners out there, just excuse Tom's bitterness right now. But anyways.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, Tom isn't always right. Most of the time he's wrong, but he's right about this one.
Thank goodness.
Well, we'll see how that goes after this Hall of Fame discussion happens. So 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty heated one, Monica and Destiny's Child. Tom was in his feelings, but this week we have two brand new people to induct into the Hall of Fame, or at least nominate them to see if we can induct them. As usual, we have a fan nomination as well as one of us. So for the fan nomination, this is one that people have actually been requesting for a minute. I just kind of tried not to nominate him because I don't want my feelings to be hurt. But the fans wanted us to nominate Ginuwine. This guy, of course, you have Pony, but he also has a couple of other huge records, Differences, So Anxious. He has a pretty strong catalog. Came in '96 with Timbaland and the Crew. Kind of was part of that transition from New Jack Swing to that more hip hop soul with the double stuttering beats, and Ginuwine was at the forefront of that. Kind of was one of the first people to bring dancing back to R&B. Still going strong today. Had TGT about 3 years ago. So is Ginuwine in the Hall of Fame?
Ed?
Oh, boy. So a couple of weeks ago, and I meant to bring this to your attention, you guys' attention, maybe a month or so ago now. There's a site called The Ringer, and I'm a big fan of. Shout out to my boy, Vic Luckerson. He's one of the writers there, and it's a really great site that talks about sports and movies and music and a lot of other stuff. They aren't the R&B experts that we are, but I still respect a lot of their views. So a few weeks ago, they wrote about how Ginuwine is an R&B legend and how he should be respected as such. And when I read that, it made me think about the Hall of Fame, because a lot of the points that Kyle just brought up, that was mentioned in the article. And I agree that Ginuwine's legacy has, especially in recent years, because Pony is the makings of a classic song. I will kind of argue about what's a classic and what isn't. I'm not going to argue with you about Pony. That's a classic song. And his legacy, just based off of that song alone, is pretty strong. But if we're talking about Hall of Fame careers, I really struggle with this one, players, because he has some strong albums. Of course, 100% Ginuwine is probably his best. I also like The Life. I think that one's very underrated. Differences was a huge song for this time that people tend to forget about. But it's just missing that X factor for me. I don't know that I feel like Pony was influential, but I don't know if outside of that, Ginuwine's career was influential, if you feel me. So I'm really on the fence, but I might have to go with a soft no here. I could be convinced otherwise, though. So what you got, Tom?
I'm looking up his discography right now. I just remembered he was on the album that almost ended Nas's career, Nostradamus.
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on that. That album actually isn't nearly as bad as the legend says, but that's another convo for another time.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Ed, for once. How do you feel about that?
I think you're lying, but go ahead.
Well, I just feel like he should have been bigger than he ended up, looking back, became. Like, he had 3 platinum albums in a row. He had Pony, he had So Anxious, he had Differences, which were all massive hits, among others, obviously. But he's just, I mean, lately he's just been stagnant. I mean, he's told Kyle that he doesn't love making music anymore and just tours. I don't know. I mean, I think he misses the cut. I mean, if you look at, like, The Senior, Back to the Basics, A Man's Thoughts, Elgin, I don't think any of those are really classics.
No, not at all.
Even The Life,
And I mean,
100%. Go ahead.
I don't want to discount what he did with those first few albums because, like I said, I love The Life. Of course, The Bachelor's great. Of course, 100% is great. But I don't know if it's a potential thing, like you said. It's like he should be way bigger than he was. And it seems like once he cut ties with Timbaland in, like, the early 2000s, he just kind of was there. And he didn't continue to evolve and progress. But like I said, I know Pony is a classic, and I think people project the classicness of Pony onto Ginuwine and make him like as legendary as that song, and that's not quite doing it for me.
I just remember, I always felt like him and Usher were neck and neck in the mid to late 90s. The whole dancing thing they both had going on. And it's like Usher went to another level, and Ginuwine kind of stayed successful, but didn't get to that superstardom. So
that's a great comparison.
Yep. I don't know why. I don't. Maybe Kyle can fill in the gaps.
Well, leave it to Ginuwine fan number one to defend him. You know what though? I can't really. Well, first of all, let me say this. One underrated aspect of Ginuwine is he actually remade a Prince song and made it sound pretty darn decent with When Doves Cry. He also remade.
I liked it.
He also remade the Michael Jackson song, She's Out of My Life, and made that a pretty decent song. However, I will say, I mean, it's a no for me, but the reason why I say no, and I agree with all the points that you're making, it's when I think back to last week and how we did not induct Monica into the Hall of Fame. I can't. I can't fathom. I can't put Ginuwine into the Hall of Fame if Monica's not in it. That's my opinion.
Yep.
However,
trash.
Destiny's Child does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, Tom. So don't get too excited.
That's.
But no, I think you guys are right. After The Life, it sort of was a pretty steep decline. I mean, the senior is like equivalent to Hot and Wet by 112 in my opinion. That was a pretty bad album.
Oh my gosh, it's not that bad.
It was pretty.
I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad.
It had two amazing songs on it, though. But by the way, it had two epic songs on it.
Well, I mean, the Hot and Wet album had. Let me see, what's good on Hot and Wet?
Hot and Wet had. I think it was like, what was it called?
Right Here,
or something like that.
That Jodeci. Yeah, that's a great song.
That's the only good song, player.
Yeah, you might be right. Okay, well, I guess the senior is a little better than Hot and Wet, but you know, it's different too though. Like A Man's Thoughts, when that came out, and the song Last Chance came out, I think that was a couple of years late for its release. If that had came out in 2005, 2006, I think it would have been much bigger than what it was in 2009. And I think maybe if that came out earlier, we'd have a different conversation right now. But I don't know. It's close, but I'm gonna say no as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah, our mention's gonna be on fire on Monday morning. But
and then the last point I'll make, and you know, this is just off the top of my head. I don't think we can just put Ginuwine into the Hall of Fame because of, you know, Pony, which is a legendary classic record, because then one could make the argument, and Ed, you might make the argument that Montel Jordan is going to be in the Hall of Fame because he has a couple of legendary records as well.
I totally agree, and that's why I think that the Ginuwine kind of mystique is kind of wrapped so much into the legendary status of that one song. And again, he's a great, great artist. So anybody saying, saying Ginuwine is trash, Ginuwine is not trash. But I think that song is so huge that people tie his greatness to that. And I think there has to be more than just one song. Because if that's the case, Montel's going in. We putting in, who was the guy that did the Skilo? We putting him in.
Oh,
we're putting in everybody.
I don't think
because
that's fair, though.
It takes more than one song.
I don't think that's fair, though. Come on, Ginuwine has like some really good songs though.
No, I'm not saying he's a one-hit wonder. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that when people talk about his legendary status, they always go back to that one song. And to be a legend, you have to be bigger than one song.
Well, Ed, do you think he's closer than Monica to the Hall of Fame? I think it's pretty close, personally.
I think it's... No, I'm really close. If someone argued to put him in, it would be hard for me to argue against it. Like, I wouldn't... It's not ridiculous. But I think he's really on the line. I think he's a little closer than Monica.
I think he's closer than Destiny's Child.
Oh!
Alright, you ready for mine?
Yep.
Since we already talked about her on this podcast, let's go with Faith Evans.
Ooh. Oh, no, don't do this to me.
What? You're squirming over there? I guess I'll give the introduction.
Yeah.
I don't really have an introduction. I say no.
What?
Well, tell us why you say no. You can't just say no.
Tom, there's listeners out there who probably just found our podcast after listening to a Bryson Tiller album that don't know who Faith Evans is. You got to at least give them something.
Boy. Okay. My credentials for getting in the Hall of Fame, you have to have at least 2 classic albums. And I don't think Faith has 2 classic albums. Arguably, she could be close to 2, but I don't think she has enough.
Agree. She doesn't have to. I agree.
Plus, I mean, realistically, after her first few albums, her first 4, I'd say, it's kind of been spotty. Like what she's put out, I think it's just been too. The reviews have been mixed on the music that she's put out after that. I love Faith, but I hate to say it, but there's no way. And she's got some really good songs though. I really like her first 4 albums. What do you guys think?
Oh my gosh, I'm in my feelings so deep. Alright. As we just discussed, Faith is one of my favorite artists of all time. Like, I cannot say anything bad. And I do think that Tom is right. I think that her first album is the classic. I will argue that. I think her third album comes close, but it's not. I really like her second album. And once again, Tom is right. After the third album, it starts to kind of be a decline and a dip a little bit. I really liked, what was the, blanking on the name of the album that I really liked.
The First Lady?
No, Something About Faith. I liked The First Lady, but I thought Something About Faith was pretty underrated.
Really?
But, yeah, I thought that
you're right. That is a pretty good album, actually.
The Incomparable one was the one that I was like,
right,
and then
right.
all the stands started yelling at me. But oh my gosh, I love Faith so much. She's one of my artists that I want to meet in person one day because I have not met her in real life. But dumb old Tom is right. Like I think
dumb
that
old
when
Tom.
It comes down,
Yo.
yes,
jeez.
I'm agreeing with you, and it's hurting my soul because I want to put her in the Hall of Fame so bad. But because I have to become unbiased reviewer, Ed, I have to look at her total impact on R&B. And although she's one of my favorite voices, has put out some of my favorite songs, one of the best voices of the 90s. If we were talking about 90s Hall of Fame, yes. But when you talk about the scope of entire career and impact and influence on other artists, she's like Ginuwine. She just misses the cut. And it makes me cry to say that.
Well, I will say this about Faith. This is going to come off a lot worse than it is, but she rode that bad boy wave better than anyone could have. And you could see that in the charts. She did so well, and then after Bad Boy sort of slowed down, as did she. But I will say, from 1 to 4, albums 1 to 4, she has a pretty solid track record. But
no question.
Again, I'm with you guys. I don't know if it's enough to put her into the Hall of Fame. But, I mean, she has some classic songs, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no question. And her first album, to me, is a undeniable classic. Like, that's 5 stars. I'll say that to anybody. And her third album is probably a good 4.5.
And we have to ask ourselves this question because now it's the new benchmark. Is she
Monica?
closer than Monica or not?
Oh my god, she's closer than Ginuwine to me. Like, she's knocking on the door.
Oh, I don't
just
know
not
about
letting her in.
that. I don't know about that, Ed.
Oh, what?
Closer than Monica?
No,
Are
I
you
know
kidding
about
me?
that. Yeah, she's closer than Monica.
Are you kidding me?
I kind of
She's
agree with
closer
Kyle
than
on this one. I agree with Kyle on this one, actually. So there we go, Ed. We disagree once again.
Okay, now the world is back. Like, we're good. But
So does that mean Monica's in then? That means Monica's in?
No, Monica's not. If Monica's not in, Faith's not in, Monica's not in. But no, I really want her to put her in because I do think that when it comes, and I think the problem is we're kind of stuck on like her 90s dominance. Because when you take her out of the 90s and insert her into like the next era, she didn't like cross over as well as like we were talking earlier about Usher and some of the other people who have, or Keith, who like jumped from decade to decade, or R. Kelly, or Tony Braxton, some of these folks, Mary J. They were able to continue to evolve as the decades went on, and even though she gave us good music in a new decade, it wasn't to the level that her original stuff was. So, I love you, Faith, but no.
Now you're never going to be able to meet her, Ed.
Yep.
No, I know. The stand's gonna already kill me because I didn't give her album 5 stars. So
Damn.
now they're gonna be on my doorstep for real. Faith stands are pretty brutal. They aren't Tamar crazy, but they're pretty brutal.
Ed, we've got a question for you.
Yes.
When you were in 2006, how old were you then?
Well, I'm not doing all that math. I don't know. Like
What?
What?
It was 10 years ago.
12 years ago.
Oh yeah, I guess it. 12 years ago. Okay, probably like 26.
So when Monica dropped the record every time the beat dropped, were you turning up?
No, I was turning down the radio.
Ouch.
I like that album though. I just hate that song.
Is that the song with Dirtbag?
No,
The-
that's
Franchise Boys.
that was on the other side. Yeah, you're thinking of the previous album, the After the Storm album.
Oh, do you know what song I'm
That's
talking
the one
about, Kyle?
with Dirtbag.
I was turning up to that song.
Oh
Were?
God, I hate that song.
That was a good song. That wasn't trendy at the time, was it?
It wasn't trendy as in. See, those times were different. You know, like now it's like if trap is hot, everybody's got a trap. Back then, you could ride the hip hop wave and not sound like everybody else. So that song wasn't trendy per se, but it was still upbeat enough that it didn't sound out of place on radio. Now everybody's just copying each other, a bunch of copycats.
Damn. Well, guys, this was a pretty bad Hall of Fame discussion because Ginuwine and Faith Evans are both a no. They both have pretty big fan bases that follow us, so make sure you guys check your Twitter mentions, and we're going to have to defend ourselves on these ones. But
Yeah, we're doomed.
it's going to be pretty bad. But Tom, it's time to go into one of your favorite segments. This is the Love Letter segment. Do you have something ready for this week?
Yeah, I'm not going to read the lyrics this time, but I'll just name the song, and you can take it from there.
Okay.
All right, you ready for this one?
Well, Tom, before you go
I'm
in,
ready.
let me just review with the listeners what Ed has accomplished in his last 2 weeks, or last 3 weeks. So the first week he helped Mario Winans, move on and be a stronger person because you need to know when your girl is cheating on you. And then
yes, you do.
last week he told Donnell to stop leading his girlfriend on and just break up with her for real. So I think we're making pretty good progress here. So Tom, give Ed number 3. What is it this time?
Number 3 comes from Tamia. It's a very sad song. Officially Missing You. What is Tamia to do?
Oh my gosh. And I love that song. That video when she's like laying on the bed and she's like staring and talking about the tears running out the side of her face. Ugh. Poor Tamia. First of all, I hope you're not talking about Grant Hill because I had thought better of him than that. But it is so sad that you gotta wander around the bodega and buy random meat from guys on the street or whatever she's doing. She's just wandering around. She has no concept of what's going on. I'm worried she's just gonna walk into traffic because she is not paying attention to her surroundings. But if you are officially missing somebody, I hope you officially give them a call and like not be so stuck in your feelings. Now, of course, if maybe I'm assuming that this person isn't like deceased. That isn't really clarified in the song. I assume that this person is still alive.
You just put a whole new perspective to the song. I might play this at my funeral.
I could never listen to that.
Wait a minute.
That song got even sadder now. Oh my god.
Well, I'm just saying it was not clarified if this dude is alive or not. So assuming that he is still in the land of the living, if you feel this bad and you are officially missing, unless he did something horrible to you, I think you better wander over to your nearest DM and be like, hit him with that "Hey, big head" text and see what's going on. Because for the sake of you, because Tamia is about to crumble to pieces, you need some closure, sister. So you need to close that circle.
I can already see it now.
And plus, it's Tamia. If somebody calls Tamia, you ain't gonna pick up the phone?
I can already see it now, guys. Tamia's heartbroken, trying to decide whether she wants to call Grant Hill or not. She has a checklist. One box says officially. Second box says unofficially. If officially is ticked off, you call.
Wow.
Oh my god.
No, you want to know what my advice would have been? She should have been
What
like
was
Usher.
your advice?
She should have been like Usher in the "You Don't Have to Call" video. Going out, turning up.
Well, see, that is what it depends where your mind state is, and clearly because she's wandering around like 2 ears full of tears and all this other stuff, she is not in the mood to go to the club. She wouldn't make it through the. She'd be standing in line crying, and then like get on the floor and then just fall to pieces. She needs to go to therapy or the person. She can't get turned up. She was too messed up.
Yeah, I don't think Tamia's going to be like riding in a Jeep and, you know, bumping up and down to the beat. I don't think that's happening.
Oh, man.
Poor Tamia. I just want to give her a hug. Now we don't know if dude's alive or dead.
I can't believe you. Jeez.
Oh, man. Well, good job, Ed. Tamia. Actually, I don't think we fixed Tamia's problem. I don't know what we should do.
You can't fix her problem. The problem is unfixable until she is able to meet up with her Grant Hill or someone else person. That is on Tamia.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
On the last note before we get out of here, guys, I just want to bring up that Childish Gambino is #1 on Urban AC. I don't know how that happened, but that's pretty random.
It's weird. I mean, I like the song, but jeez.
Yeah, I live in... Who's Childish Gambino again?
Oh my gosh. You gotta excuse... Our listeners have to excuse Tom. He doesn't own a TV. So the last thing that he has that's a pop culture TV reference is the freaking Thundercats. He don't know anything newer than that.
Thundercats? What makes you think I watched that crap?
Oh, now you're not even think less of you because you didn't watch the Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
One last point to bring up, and this is actually pretty breaking news, but L.A. Reid is no longer with Epic, which makes me wonder, #1, what did he do that was so bad to get him fired from Epic, and #2, what happens to Mariah Carey's career, because I think she only signed knowing that L.A. Reid was part of Epic.
That was a great point, and I remember when she signed, and it was a big deal. That was part of the reason why she signed. So that song with YG might be the last we hear of OMC.
So, anyways, that is it for this week's edition of the podcast. Apologies again for missing out on last week. We had things to do, but we came back with this one. Ed, tell them what's going on with SoulInStereo.com right now.
Whole lot is going on. If you missed out on the last couple weeks, lots of album reviews have dropped. We talked a little bit about Faith and Biggie's album. We talked about Latoya Luckett's album. So if you missed those two, check out the site. Also, one of the albums that's kind of the talk of hip hop right now is the album Everybody from Logic. Everybody's comparing it to the Kendrick Lamar album that just dropped. And I think anybody that's comparing it to that album is vastly overrating this album. So come to Soul and Stereo and let me give you that real and tell you what works and what definitely does not work about this Logic album that everybody's hyped about. Also, another piece that's kind of about a week or so old, but still needs some love. I've had a lot of requests from listeners who wanted me to do some more gospel posts. So what I did was I talked about 20 of the best gospel albums that we have on our playlist. I couldn't do a top 20 gospel album of all time because, no, I can't be writing about Negro spirituals. It'd be like 1,000 albums on that list. So we talked about 20 of the newest, more contemporary albums, and that one got a lot of good response. And, of course, the love letters, too. So just go to soulandstereo.com, look on the main page, and there's a whole bunch of new stuff.
Tom, who's that gospel singer that's like beloved by everyone?
Wait, who? Kirk Franklin?
No, the female.
Yolanda Adams?
No, she's
Kim Burrell.
Pamela Mann?
Kim Burrell. There you go.
What about her?
Did she make the cut, Ed?
Nope. Sorry, Kim.
Damn, the
Ouch.
original vocal Bible did not make the cut. But Tom, what's going on
You
with
and
You Know
this
I Got
vocal
Soul?
Bible.
Well, we interviewed Latoya Luckett, like we mentioned. You interviewed Brandy. You check those out. That's pretty much it. Covered the new albums that are coming out. But yeah, pretty much not too much going on in R&B right now, other than what we talked about.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a couple of new things that we're going to start putting into place relatively soon. I promise you we'll be back next week with another podcast. I think that week was probably miserable for all of you, including us. So we'll get back on schedule, but until then, we are out. Tom, Kyle, Ed signing out. Peace. 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 Ed signing out. Peace.